Wow, powerful conflict management and resolution. I see Diane Mutua from Grace Impact Center. And at this point, it is important to understand that conflict cannot be avoided. I said that in my introduction, cannot be avoided totally in any given human society or in an organization. I see conflict like a chronic illness and which requires proper management. We have human wildlife conflict due to encroachment. We also have this kind of conflict, and you can see that guy, he just went to harvest honey without actually preparing himself, because we need to really be cognizant of the fact that in case we engage bees, and if we want to take honey from the bees, we've got to be ready. We've got to prepare ourselves. We have to equip ourselves thoroughly and properly with the necessary or the right equipment so that we can be able to caution ourselves or protect ourselves from this nature of conflict, because bees will actually come out protecting their honey. And you can see this guy was aware that he was actually out there to harvest honey, and he had to equip yourself. Every time you're leaving your house to go to work, to go to the place where you do your business in the marketplace, or if you're going to a community meeting or to a place where you are interacting with the people, you must prepare yourself, because conflict is likely to occur even in the church, in any other group where people are meeting, or in any place where people are convening and congregating. If you're interacting with the people, you've got to prepare yourself. And you can see that gentleman is ready, unlike this guy here who actually went to face the bees without being prepared. And this guy was ready and prepared. Now, we have types of conflicts: domestic related conflict due to financial crisis, especially during this time. Couples may conflict when financial situation is maybe not good, and even poor preparation for marriage. There are people who just entered into marriage having not done that preparation. There is a likelihood of conflicting, because there are many things that they do not understand. Cultural intrusions is also another thing that under the domestic related conflict that can actually really flare up conflict in a marriage. Religious affiliations, okay, can also be a factor. External interference, there are people who come just to interfere with your marriage, especially very close relatives, mother, father-in-laws, your sisters and brothers-in-laws, and even maybe some friends. Evolution of community values, and if we are not able to adopt accordingly. Young girls are getting educated the same way like men, and they're also getting economically empowered, and the men may not expect women to do everything that older women in those olden time can do to a man, because of evolution of community values. This does not imply women should not be submissive, but today you find that women are working class as well as men, and they also get tired like their male counterparts, and therefore men should not expect their wives to do everything that their mothers, the old women, used to do back in the village in those days. So domestic related conflict can also occur. I'm just mentioning a few things. The other, you can see that picture there. This is a very bad thing. Any man who beats his wife is a weak man. It's an expression of weakness as a man. You're not supposed to beat your wife as a man. You're supposed to protect your wife. And we also have politically instigated conflict or civil unrest. It is due to disputed election outcomes, poor governance, external influence by the superpowers out there, people who are interested, the corporates, the governments out there who want to do business or to have a share of the country's cake. Hard economic times can also be a factor, and also human rights advocacy, because people are becoming more enlightened when they come to the human rights issues. That guy is ready, and he's not agreeing that the elections was fair, and he's ready now to fight and maybe to protect his party and also his political affiliation. He is sure that the voting process was not fair, and therefore he's ready. So this lady sometimes was in Gatondo, and there was a delay of payment of the dam somewhere, and eventually the government paid, and that can be a conflict where payment has been delayed, and she was really at it, and thank God, because the government paid her due. We have another type of conflict, which is religious related conflict due to doctrinal issues leadership wrangles in churches. Also, external interferences can also be a factor, and that can actually escalate conflict even to full scale. Resource related, especially when a church or a Christian organization start to accumulate wealth and money, that can actually be a cause of conflict. Now, how do conflict occur? How can a conflict occur? It might occur when a certain community or a group or individual perceive that they are being discriminated, the way resources are being allocated, or unequal opportunities in positions of leadership or employment opportunities available. Also, insufficient information shared or lack of transparency in communication breakdown and also can also be a factor. Now, differing perception, you can see that guy on the left is seeing number 6. The guy on the right, on my right, is seeing number 9, and that can be a conflict. What causes differing perceptions in people's lives or between friends is because of levels of education, because education changes people's way of thinking and perceiving things. And if you are relating with someone that you are significantly of different education level, that can also be a cause of conflict if you do not use wisdom and bring harmony in your discussion. Socialization, the way people are brought up, the environment, the culture, the values they acquired. Cultural background is also another factor. People's attitude, because you may say something very important. Because of a negative attitude towards someone, it may not really help you. Religious background is also a factor. People's temperaments. People have different temperaments. People are not the same, and we need to understand that people have differing temperaments so that we can understand their position and even some of the behaviors that are based or influenced by their temperaments. Communication breakdown is also a factor. Now, we need also to understand that maturity mitigates conflict. Maturity mitigates conflict. There is this scripture in Ephesians chapter 4 says, some are called to be apostles, others are called to be, prophets, evangelists, and pastors and teachers for the equipping of the saints, for the work of the ministry. So as the people mature, maturity is it mitigates the occurrence or escalation of conflict. And it says in verse 13 there, till we all come to the unity of the faith and of the knowledge of the Son of God, to a perfect man, to the measure of the stature of the fullness of Christ. So maturity mitigates conflict, and we need to mature. We need to really embrace maturity. I want to bring an example of a conflicting situation in the Bible, in the early church, and how the apostles mitigated this conflicting situation. But as the believers rapidly multiplied, there were rambling of discontent. So there was this conflict that was actually brought about by multiplication. And the Greek-speaking believers complained about the Hebrew-speaking believers, saying that their widows were being discriminated against in the daily distribution. This was discrimination based on ethnic profiling. So the 12 called a meeting of all the believers. We see the apostles now are coming up with intervening measures to stop further escalation to full scale. And we see that they got the right people full of, people are respected, full of the Spirit, men full of wisdom to take care of the needy. Let's look at the nature of this conflict in Acts chapter 16. It was because of ethnic profiling, discrimination that was meted on these Grecian Jews or Greek-speaking believers. And it was due because of incompetent and unfaithful personnel in the office, and also due to rapid growth that required a new management structure and personnel and restructuring of the organization. And the top leadership avoided falling into the trap of digressing from the core business, which was prayer and the word. So we are just trying to analyze the nature of this conflict. Now, what was this conflict targeting? It was targeting the core business of the apostles, prayer and the word. And you may have witnessed whenever you engage in a conflicting situation that became very ugly, you are not able to pray and even to read the Bible. So the enemies was targeting the core business of the apostles, prayer and the word. Also, division of the church along ethnic line, and eventually there would have been abortion of God's purposes and also advancement of God's kingdom because of that. Now, we see that these guys were able to mitigate on this conflicting situation. And I want to stop at that, and I'll continue with the conflict between Abraham and Lot and how it was resolved. I said my name is Wilson Mutua from Grace Impact Center, Shalom, shalom. Next time I'll continue with Abraham and Lot and how this conflict was resolved. We are learning about conflict management and resolution using biblical principles. May the Lord bless you mightily. Shalom, shalom.